I have always felt, since the day I arrived at Rice, that we were the best kept secret in the South. I mean, there are a lot of wonderful art schools, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of them, and they are great, but they don't help the whole student.
It's inspiring to me, deeply inspiring, that someone can make such beautiful and important photographs. I mean, that sweeps me away and makes me think, okay, yeah, what I'm doing does have tremendously important potential.
We have like the international soccer team of people now. We have all these people in place that are teaching so well and that our students are excited. I think of Lisa Lipinski. No one has a smile like Lisa Lipinski. She gets her students to produce art like I have never seen come out of the sculpture room. I just tell you, her and Natasha, I truly have been here a long time. The work is bright, it's thoughtful, it's determined. And then you have Josh Bernstein. Oh my gosh, he teaches life drawing like if God were teaching life drawing. He's remarkable. Then you have Will Fowler. When I walk into his painting rooms, I have to photograph the still lives and the student work because I'm so excited and I want to look at it. It is energy that it begets energy. It's astounding.
It's one thing to be a photographer working next to another terrific photographer. I mean, it just rubs off, you interact. But to be a photographer and to be working next to a printmaker, to be a photographer and be working next to a collage artist, I mean, literally to be in and out of the same rooms and to be seeing each other as the process unfolds, that all affects you in important, ongoing ways. You can't ignore it. It's impossible. You might try to ignore it, but you can't. It will soak in. And that's what you get when you're working together. For example, just having Allison, whose work I take huge pleasure in and respect. But we're very different. But seeing her work invigorates me, and I might even learn a little bit here and there watching her do her work. And so bring us all together, and the effect is, to the power of 10. We're all of a sudden, really growing interaction with each other. And the students feeling and absorbing all of that too.
The most interesting feature about this building is that it was really devised by the very people who were going to work in it for filmmaking and photography. Film, movie, cinema, I think it's probably the most important medium in art.
The founding vision of Jean and Dominique Damanil of the Media Center and the Rice Barn, which was essentially the Menil collection before they built the Renzo Piano building, was this dual situation, which is an amazing duality of having the most high-level, sophisticated offerings in the arts and to be super accessible to all levels of the community.
For me, my inspiration has often come from the natural world. Like if you look at my work, you see that influence pretty quickly and pretty directly. Although I will say that a lot of people ask me like, oh, you must go out into nature all the time. You must look at things out in their natural environment. That's not entirely true. I mean, in part, this is sort of an irony about my work. It's that I get really anxious when I'm out in nature. Which is sort of a funny thing. I mean, but I think it's funny, but it's also sort of speaks to what I try to channel in my work itself, which is this sense of like a power and a threat that nature can have and make that we often, in our day-to-day try to ignore or tuck away or contain because, dealing with those thoughts make our lives more complicated when we really sort of stand up and face the facts.
Teach, artistic acuity, we teach creativity, we teach the ability to be prepared to be creative, like to understand the use of tools and have them if you want to create something, because that's a big stumbling block for people. They don't know how to do it, so they get frustrated and stop, right? And that's not what we want. We want people to understand what creativity is, and I think they bring it to whatever jobs they have when they go out into the world, right? But they have that ability. So I think that our program differentiates from almost any art program because it's not exclusively an art program. It has a process of the humanities inside of it.
It's true, we're doing a really good job. Students are really happy. The one thing that they're not happy with are the facilities. And there's good reason for that. The facilities are in rough shape. They're not serving the students to the level that Rice wants to be serving the students, and we want the students to be served. And they recognize that. The same exit surveys that have 100% positives in terms of the teaching, the education, would I take this major again, have this major again if I was coming back in now, all of those being extremely positive. The one consistent negative are the facilities, and the faculty recognize that also. Our own ambition to be a really serious, hard-driving, dynamic department and recruit really the top faculty from around the country meets the dean's vision of the role that the arts can play in the School of Humanities. And the role that we can play is not only to be an excellent part of the School of Humanities, but to be a hub for really dynamic humanities research through the arts and the kind of natural collaborations that are happening in the greater contemporary art world. All three units within our department that are separated now, coming together in the same building, it's going to build a sense of community, a sense of identity for the academic art program at Rice.
I think that we're all looking for ways, all of us in our different areas are looking for ways to connect together. It might be somebody who is acting on stage, but is also interested in writing for the camera. And so there's a possibility that we could get creative writing involved in some way, shape, or form. I think everything that we do will be determined by how we can find a way to be together and how we can come up with things that are, yes, solo, because we're all very different disciplines, but there are opportunities for us to be able to come together. And if we have a shop, like even just a scene shop that will hold both the construction that has to be done for sculpture and the construction that has to be done with theater, well, you're going to be bumping into each other all the time. So I think that just having that will allow us to start thinking more expansively about what we can offer our students. And so that's what we're looking for. And there's more students.
I feel like if we're all in one hub, not only does it create a space that's just like set up for innovation and chance and play, because it's, we're less like split across the campus, but it's also just more representative of what contemporary art is today, which is like often collaborative, often interdisciplinary, often hard to name, hard to pin down. We're all interested in thinking about is like, how do you make space that's a little bit less discipline specific, but having some space within there where you can have these kind of collisions, like spaces where students can do messier projects that aren't just bound to photo or bound to film or bound to studio. You can have a space that is flexible by nature that will kind of encourage that kind of collision, creative collision. And then the other thing I think that's kind of a part of it too is just to have space that students can make their own. We kind of do that in our own ways now across campus in our little, triad of theater, film, photo, and studio. But I think creating a hub that students can also like choose to occupy in ways that they find like creatively fruitful. I think that's super exciting and happens like in small clips and bits now, but like having them all together doing that, it's just like a condenser of energy. Like if you just pull it all together, then I think it gets the power that was always there is just like more easily palpable.